All right, and we're live. Here with Joe again and my adorable little assistant Ripley, and gonna go over the 2025 Royal Rumble. So, any
Oh,
surprises?
I was
Expectations met, or
I was more upset with the winner of the men's Royal Rumble. Um, I understand they're trying to build something up, but I think Jay Uso in a way is being thrusted upon us. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but they're almost like forcing him. Um, it's almost like some people feel the same way like Cody Rhodes. You
Ripley?
know,
Everybody?
um, and then Charlotte Flair coming back and then winning the Rumble again. It's like for the women's, it's like where's the other shots for the other you know divas in the wrestling. I'm not saying that she didn't deserve it, but I think there was with how storylines are going or whatnot, there definitely could have been you know like the feud that Tiff Stratton and what's that big bitch's name, Maya
Nia.
Jax, yeah. Maya Jax. You know what I'm talking about.
And you love that Nia. I know you do.
Well, I mean, she,
No shame at all. But
she
okay,
it was, Nikki Bella came back. Trish Stratus came back. We got to see Joe Hendry.
say his name and he will appear.
Not obviously those just look place fillers because obviously TKO Sports owns like TNA, WWE, so it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, lost you again. Joe lost you. Ripley, what are you doing? I hear you. Joe, I lost you.
oh, there we go. Sorry, I had a phone call, and when it does that, it I don't understand why it doesn't um
Ripley, stop. No.
go it does that. My dad was calling me. He's probably requiring it we had to drop um some money on Tip's van. Rear shocks were shot at 48,000 miles.
That I hope that's under warranty.
No, shocks are considered a wear and tear item, so no warranty will cover it. Um,
That's just nonsense.
yeah, you buy it's a 2020. The vehicle's probably just now hitting 5 years old and 40 something thousand miles on it, and rear shocks blow out.
I mean, I guess by definition, it is a wear and tear item, but they should be going at 40,000 miles.
No, you remember my white Silverado, the first one I had. I got
Yeah.
rid of that truck, I think, with like 180 something thousand miles on it. Original shocks. Like, is they're built all right. I mean, I understand they go bad after a while, but if they're built all right and you maintain your vehicle, um, they can last you a while. I mean, it's itself, it's a unit that's, sealed from the outside environment. It's not like the oil goes bad
Yeah.
in there. So, but oh my, um,
But
so
yeah, I kind of feel the same opposite way from you with the men's and women's. Um, we'll get into them, but I like Charlotte. I do.
I do too. I just, I think
Yeah.
this would be her last.
But her coming back, as nice as it is to see her come back, same with Alexa. Her coming in and especially that late and then winning, I'm like, we really gonna do this again? I know they're probably building to Charlotte Rhea rematch, but she just came back, and is it because she's Rick's daughter? You know, there were so many women in there that did deserve it. Um, some that aren't ready, some that are not on that level, but just for Charlotte to come back and immediately win the Rumble, it seemed, I don't know, not the worst idea, but kind of let down for all the other women involved that have been there since she's been gone.
Right, and they're understandably that women's bodies can't take as much as the men's bodies, and their wrestling careers are generally shorter. And like call it storyline writing, but when's the last time we saw Charlotte in the ring? And like to your point, comes to the Rumble and be like, hey, you're going to be winning the Rumble on your return. Like a lot, they would have signed. I would have been happier with like Alexa Bliss. Like just because she was out a while, and then you can come up with a storyline with that. But the men's, I mean, you had John Cena and Jey Uso left, so I know what everyone was thinking. Like, okay, is this redemption for is this John's? Is he gonna get in WrestleMania and all that? And the
And
way he was eliminated, I'm like, really?
and I think it was more John. This I and just by seeing the Royal Rumble and knowing the character that is not just a character of John Cena, but John Cena, the person's character. Um, it's his way of putting guys over on his way out and
Well,
being the man, you know.
right.
Um,
He's trying to get people over.
and Jey Uso has been so over this past 6 months to a year and a half. Ever since Cody came back, him and LA Knight were through the stars, and Jay or LA Knight's kind of lingering there. Jay just kept going. Um, so they're like, you know what? Let's ride this train. You could tell that they were kind of planning on something because he faced Gunther twice already, lost both. Let's do the hat trick match at WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
So
And CM
that's
Punk,
enough.
Drew McIntyre, Kevin, they're continuing whatever stories that they have going forward. And, to me, Jay seems like the right choice. Other guys like Braun, they're going to have their time, so.
I think that's one of the people they haven't give the proper respect to, and a couple of them I would say Braun Strowman and like McIntyre. Like McIntyre won the world title WrestleMania last year, and then Damian Priest cashed in. And it's like you've been doing this guy dirty over years. Now, obviously, they tell him like, "Hey, this is what's happening," and it's like you got to give the man his due. Like Drew McIntyre helped carry the company during there was no crowd. He held the title with no fans, and it's like, where's the appreciation in that? Like, obviously, I don't know if he cares, and he seems to be, you know, jumping between main event and mid card and just kind of bouncing around and starting like he's a great wrestler. He's a great heel. He's a great baby face. Like he can do it all. Uh, but when they're gonna give these certain wrestlers that have been kind of carrying the company over the last few years their due. We've seen that a lot more in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ruthless
And
Aggression, like, obviously when Brock came on scene, like he shot up, probably one of the fastest rising stars, you know, ever that I've seen. Just came, essentially a nobody, and I think a lot to do with that was Paul Heyman bringing him in and being like, look, this is main event in the WrestleMania's first year, winning the Rumble, and just like they thrusted Brock upon us. And at that time it felt right because he was, the big guy. Like you don't see, like that was more realistic than like Jey Uso over the last year. Like he's getting over. That was more of a fan. Like we got to give the crowd what they want. They want Jey.
Yeah.
Like
Where I will defend Jay is like it was a natural, organic build
no,
up.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
As opposed to if they would have came out and just gave Jay that spot right off the top,
Mhm.
it would be a completely different story. But the build up over the last year and a half has been, it's good to see because he's good. He's fun. People love him. So let's give, he works hard. He's been loyal. He deserves it, and the fans love him. So
And it's rare to find a team, people that come in as a tag team like Jimmy and Jay. And when they separate, we've seen it before. Their continued success as a team will always be there. But it's hard to be successful as a singles matchup guy. We tried to see it with, Hardy's. Jeff had, you know, Jeff was very successful as a singles competitor. Matt, he was all right, but didn't have nearly success as his brother. Like, look at the Dudley boys. They split them up, and they weren't really like
it,
Jay. He took this main event thing and he ran with it, and it's working for him. So I mean, good for him. Jimmy. I think Jay's getting thrusted into the main event. No pun intended on that. Where Jimmy is kind of sitting in the back mid card, and I bet he's probably really happy for his brother.
yeah,
That hey, you're really good, you succeed, and but it's just I think of it like it's rare to see, and this is where I like Jay is like okay, they did great as a tag team. I wonder how they do separate, right? And Jimmy's taking it, um, you know, he's taking the challenge head on and is very successful with it.
yeah. So
You
to dive a little bit more into them, starting off with the women's, Charlotte won. We talked
know,
about that. Um,
we did have
return,
a return or debut. Forgot her name.
Stephanie Vacker
Yep.
was a rookie. She's pretty good. Jordan Grace officially signed. Jumped over from TNA, and she's gonna be a monster. Um, she looked good. Friggin' set her up with a friggin' what was it? A pro over plunging Piper. Um, Alexa came back. If you saw her jacket, back of her
Oh yeah.
jacket.
hmm
So I definitely want to see where they go. She goes with the White Six. Get the hiccups.
Well, I think that was kind of interesting. Um, if she does go with the Wyatt Six, or does she go after the one lady in the Wyatt Six and kind of replace her?
Yeah, the future interactions, however it goes, like uh, White Six has been kind of quiet over the last few weeks, and I don't know if that was because they didn't know what they were going to do with Alexa, but definitely want to see it.
You can definitely tell that the crowd wants the Wyatt Six.
The pop she got was
And the way she came out, right? With
the rag doll, the rag doll, and
hmm so I think maybe Alexa's the missing piece for that. Um, because they were trying to use the Wyatt Six, like they teased them for so long, and then when they debuted, and it's like, are you guys using this right? Because you're just essentially, you tried to kill off Chad Gable. Bye, baby. Um, And then next week, Chad Gable's back on the show. When you saw him with like a wound on the side of the head, supposed to be dead. And it's like, oh, okay.
What's wrong, baby?
So,
And Trish and Nikki Bella showing up as the legends.
Trish and Nikki, oh,
Trish, the fact that she was in storylines for 6 months to a year made sense. But
no, I agree.
nothing against Nikki Bella. But like as soon as her music hit, it was like, really?
Well, I thought.
Was it just a filler spot, really, because you couldn't get who you wanted.
Well, I'm just glad to see, like Brie. I think, I think Brie Bella's pretty much done with wrestling. Being that her husband is officially done with AEW, and so, I mean, I don't know if they planned on Nikki Bella coming back for Legends or what. Sorry, I'm gonna slowly get ready to.
Anything.
But it's good to see her. I mean,
Yeah.
like if you notice about Trish, she wore her TNA
Yeah,
stuff.
her jacket. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool because when they put up, like I saw a picture of side by side, and I tell you what, she didn't look like she aged one bit.
Yeah, she still looks phenomenal for her. It's just in general. Like there's, I wish, coming from a guy's perspective, like I look that good at her age, and she's not much older than me, but she looks great.
And I'm assuming her, her work ethic, her workouts, and maybe a little help from doctors, but for the most part, like she looks amazing, like you said, for being in her mid to late 40s. And Nikki, she's like 41. She's our age. So, and she looked like she didn't change at all. Like she didn't look
Yeah,
like she looked like Nikki when she last wrestled.
yeah, they both are amazing. Yeah, look great. Both, both her and her sister continue to work out and be on top of that. They both eat healthy, especially her and her husband Brian Danielson. They're they lean on the more vegetarian side, but so they're definitely super healthy, super on top of it.
No, um, you're connected to my truck now.
Ooh, I'm in your truck.
Yes. The one did the Royal Rumbles as a whole. Like, I'll be honest, I caught a 20-minute video on YouTube of highlights of the Royal Rumble. Saturday, I kind of forgot it was on. To be honest with you,
I'm at that age where I'm still so used to it being on Sundays. I'm like, oh shit.
like it's weird. I'm happy they changed the pay-per-views, to Saturdays and not Sundays. The one that goes into Sunday is like the big ones. Like you have the 2-night WrestleManias. I always considered SummerSlam, the WrestleMania of the summer, like the biggest summer event. Like, SummerSlam is usually a big one that I think deserves maybe 2 nights.
Yeah, I mean, even the Royal Rumble is part of the Big Four. You could do it theoretically in 2 nights. You know what I mean? Women's one day, men's another day. Just to make sure, just to have every champion on there. But it was good. It was still
There we go.
4.5 hour long PLA pay-per-view, whatever you call it. And
I think you're onto something. Like they could do something with the Royal Rumble, making it a 2-night. Like night one, you have the women's, have a few matches, because the pay-per-view shoved into 4 hours. 2 hours of it was essentially Royal, just over 2 hours was both Royal Rumbles, and you
Yeah.
got like 2 matches. So it's like, the good old days of pay-per-views. Remember, like, where the Royal Rumble, you had, like, granted, there was never a women's Royal Rumble until recent. But like the older Royal Rumbles, you had like 5 matches on the card and the Royal Rumble event. And I do remember when the Royal Rumble was the main event.
Yeah. And
Like,
the 3-4 matches on there were 5-minute matches, maybe. It's
right.
like,
I mean, you got to get through them, and but
and then one you have small match, maybe the tag champs, which again, quick match. Then the longer match which is the heavyweight title, and then the Royal Rumble.
right. Like, I go back to Royal Rumble 2000, where Cactus Jack fought Triple H in that epic street fight. Like that, that was at the Royal Rumble. That match went on for probably 20, 25 minutes. And to me, that overshadowed the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Kind of one of Cactus Jack's final stands. We all know what happened with Mick Foley. He was getting ready to retire anyway. And, when I was watching that live, I'm like, I thought that shit was real. Like, your career's on the line. And it is essentially like, if you have one bad move, right? I mean, you land wrong. I mean, look at Big E. He landed on his head, and he's still trying to come back and doesn't know if he can come back and wrestle. He made an appearance not too long ago. And, I don't know if they're building into something with that, with, the old New Day against Big E,
Yeah. For the record with that, I'm all for heel New Day.
I'm interested to see how it goes, because I can't see Kofi Kingston as a heel. I don't think he's ever been a heel.
No, but Xavier,
even when he was like just him by himself in singles.
Yeah, but Xavier Woods back again when he was in TNA, Consequences Street, he was phenomenal. And then when he was with Jay Lethal Consequences, they were phenomenal. So he could definitely do it. You could tell he's in. He's got it. I think he could bring Kofi along on that.
I think Kofi had to get used to something a little bit. Just, he's not used to being a heel type. I think it's, being a heel is a lot harder than being a baby face. I mean, you could just say, like, well, a baby face gives the people what they want, and a heel doesn't. I'm like, well, it's easier said than done. Like, well, you got to look at the past heels before that did it so well. Like, I mean, one of the best heels I consider is Triple H. I rank him probably as the number one heel. Then right below him is Edge. Like, I've never seen those two were probably the best heels of my time.
Yeah, and I remember. I think if I'm wrong, I apologize. And if anybody sees this and corrects me, by all means. I want to say it was Jake Roberts said it. He's like, I can be a babyface, but being a heel is so much more fun because there's no boundaries. You could go anywhere. You have the freedom to just flow with it and make the people hate you. And that's why I think the Miz is good.
The Miz is a good heel too,
because people can't stand him.
He's like an annoying. Dominic is being he found his heel and he's riding with it. Like, he's having good success as a heel. And I contribute that. Obviously him turning on his dad, but joining the New Day. Learning from Edge a little bit.
Judgment Day.
The Judgment Day. Sorry, thank you. It just kind of like, look, you gotta do, like, you gotta turn on your dad. That'll make, like, okay, number one, he turns on his dad. Rhea
was a heel, and I think people just like wanted to see her cake. So I think over time she was trying to be a heel, and they're like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna cheer for you because we want that ass. You know, that was Rhea. You know,
Yeah,
I find it funny.
Rhea
You know,
got
they
the
have
Stone Cold effect, where she was a
right.
heel.
That's what I was going to. Like they tried to make certain people a heel, and the crowd won't want it. The crowd doesn't like. No, no. Like you thought, you know, the ultimate move of Stone Cold becoming a heel is when he beat the shit out of The Rock at WrestleMania 17 and sided with Vince McMahon. There was mixed reaction, sure, but there was cheers. Like, is that's how over Stone Cold was. Like the crowd didn't care. He's still gonna do. Stone Cold's gonna do what Stone Cold's gonna do. But it was just like like you said, the Stone Cold effect. The crowd's like, okay, you're a heel, but we're gonna cheer for you. Like, we don't hate you. He just sided with the word, you know, they say Vince McMahon was by far the greatest heel. You know, I think he embraced it because no one likes the boss.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. You know what better heel than the boss and the owner of the company? And you know, sometimes art imitates life.
I think, you know, you had to, you know, when they started doing the GM roles, you know, back in the early 2000s when they had, you know, Ric Flair as the GM, you're not going to have a heel Ric Flair to be a GM. You could have a heel Paul Heyman be a GM.
And when it came to the GMs, the best heel GM Vince could have ever picked was Eric Bischoff.
Absolutely. I was shocked. I think we talked about this. Is obviously when WWE purchased WCW, they purchased all the employees. Now, I forgot about Eric Bischoff.
Yeah,
Like, mind
I
you,
didn't expect it.
He wasn't on TV towards the later end of the final days of WCW. Not as much as dearly as he was when it was growing popularity, Monday Night Wars, the NWO. Like, he went back scenes, and then you kind of forgot about him. And then Vince is like, yeah, you kind of see him have this idea, like, how about if we do this?
And then that episode of Raw, and he's like, Eric Bischoff, and then the music hits. They're like, Eric Bischoff is on fucking Raw. So one of my favorite entrance musics of all time.
I think it
Yeah,
was a good song. You know, it's just funny that, you know, there's no hard feelings, and it was that storyline. Like, this is the same guy that literally threatened to put your business out. You know, how many Mondays did
84 weeks,
WCW be Raw? 84
83
weeks in a
weeks.
row. 83 weeks. And it was to the mastermind of Eric Bischoff. Like, that guy, like, you can love him or hate him, but he's done a lot for the business. And you know, and you bring him as a GM, like, you know, it's like, holy shit, this is the same guy that was ran you out, and they kind of Vince used that. Like, it was, you know, for a heel GM, I think, yeah, Eric Bischoff is a good pick. Paul Heyman, when they originally did the SmackDown Raw, was a good pick. You couldn't make Stephanie a heel GM because at that time that was hot Stephanie McMahon. So,
So pretty hot.
so there's you know there's Stephanie McMahon, and then there's GM Stephanie McMahon, and there's a difference. God dang it!
But kind of keeping with you talked about Triple H earlier.
Yep.
The tag match, Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY, 2 or 3 falls. DIY wins.
Yep.
Ciampa breaks his nose, or excuse me, Triple H breaks his nose.
Or an
Good
Archer,
match.
yes.
Good match. Good tag match. Both teams are good. You know, Machine Guns is definitely glad to see them there. They deserve it. It's been a long time.
I also think Ciampa is rising, right? I mean, he was very successful in NXT. They bring him to the main roster. He's been doing well. Like he definitely, you tell like he studied a lot in the business. He's I think his tag. They found some with DIY, right? And it's working. I thought like I always looked at NXT a little weird. I mean, always looked at NXT as like almost entry level. Like,
The more NXT in the beginning, I was always like, eh. Now with how they're doing with it, bring any guys that they bring from the indies or whatever, they kind of acclimate them to the WWE style and
right.
push them up. They did with this AJ, they did with Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Glorious. So all these guys, like Mike
That
and
was fun.
Ciampa and Johnny Wrestling, it was
Right.
good for them, and now they're friggin' thriving. So
It's now I think NXT is a respected brand. I mean, I never said it would be disrespected, but it just to me it seemed like entry level. Like, let's see if you can make it here, and you make something of yourself, and then see if you make a roster spot.
yeah,
Like it was a bridge,
it's
and
a way
now
of saying get the rust off, get into our style, get used to our ring and stuff like that.
one guy they wasted. I mean, you said you're going back to Triple H and talking about R-Truth, yeah. Calling Triple H Ciampa, calling Ciampa, it's just R-Truth being R-Truth.
It, I will say this to everybody, and I will say it every single day. R-Truth is a national treasure.
He's, it's unfortunate how he's willing to do whatever it takes for him to be successful in that business. And if that means holding that 24/7 title 30-something times, he did it. He knows he wasn't going to be a main eventer.
And which is a shame, saying that for the former NWA heavyweight champion.
Right, because he did win the NWA heavyweight champion in TNA. So, and he says that was like his biggest, that was huge. And the NWA title is very prestigious, as we know.
It does, unfortunately, doesn't hold the same weight as it did 20, 30 years ago, or in the 80s at least.
No,
40 years ago. But it's still...
You being recognized by the company, hey, you're the top dog.
But, having R-Truth get his WrestleMania moment with The Miz, win the tag titles, was a happy moment.
That's what he needed.
Yeah.
Guy's literally been probably one of the probably the most loyal guy in that company. Because like me and you talked about it before when they had the 24/7 when Mick Foley came out and said, "I got a new title to debut." I know what I was thinking. You know what you were thinking. Everyone else was thinking the same thing. And it's a 24/7 title. I'm like, are they ever going to come out with a hardcore title again?
Probably not.
I think it'd be funny if they're kind of rooting around somewhere like backstage and they find the original hardcore title, and then that's how it goes. Like someone's in a back room, something catches their eye, like what the hell is this? And then boom, 24/7 hardcore title.
They find it in a box sitting on top of a scale, like Crash Holly used to carry, just covered in dust.
Or something, like just make it funny.
Yeah.
Like pay homage to Crash, because he loves face it. He made that hardcore title, not in a sense hardcore, but he made it entertaining.
Yeah.
And then Crash Holly being a super heavyweight.
Speaking of hardcore and and blood. The undisputed title ladder match. Cody versus KO.
I think it was a great match. Obviously, Cody Rhodes won. I didn't think Cody Rhodes was going to drop the title at Royal Rumble. Like, like
But if he did lose it to KO, I don't think anybody would have complained.
no,
You know,
I would
Kevin Owens worked his ass off like he always does.
I don't think hopefully they start. It's going on a year. It will be a year come WrestleMania that Cody Rhodes has held the title. So we're going back into like these long title reigns, and it's like you're telling me there's no one, absolutely no one that can beat Cody Rhodes. Like you've got to make it realistic, in a sense, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like obviously 4 years with Roman, respectfully, was too much. But you can't have him flip every 3 weeks either. You know what I mean?
no, but I do like the change. How it was earlier in like the Ruthless Aggression era, the Attitude era, where you held the title for a couple months, you dropped it, you build that rivalry. Like I want my it's in the contract clause of me being a forward title. I get my rematch, try to win it back. These long title reigns. I think that's almost it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it cements them, and hey, you held the title for this long, awesome. The company believes in you. But at second, it's like the company still believes in you, and it's I just say, there's other people deserving of the title. Like, is he gonna, is Jey Uso gonna choose Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, or is he gonna choose Gunther? Like I think you're on to something where I think he's gonna face Gunther, and whoever wins the Elimination Chamber match is gonna be facing Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, and like I said, with Jay, he had those two losses against Gunther. Go for the trifecta to wrap up that story. Jay wins going forward, and then with Cody, you could have CM Punk in the chamber, Drew McIntyre, Roman, hell, John Cena can be in there. You
Well,
can have
Cena
these
came
people.
out.
What's that?
It said Cena came out and said he's going to be participating in the Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah, so you could have Cena, Drew, CM Punk, hell, Seth Rollins, Roman, and they're all going. They all turn their faces to Cody, and with Gunther and Jay wrapped up, they could focus on that and keep rivalries going. Storylines wraps up. That could be
Like,
Drew's, comeback.
When is Money in the Bank? Is that after Elimination Chamber?
We just had Elimination Chamber March. WrestleMania is April.
So Money in the Bank is already that's after WrestleMania.
Yeah, it'll be. It might be the one after.
Well, I was just trying to think of a moment for like Drew McIntyre, like to kind of try to get his title, and because let's face it, I think John Cena foreshadowed something saying that I'm competing in Elimination Chamber and I am going to go to WrestleMania. And the company owes it to John Cena 100% to, you know what, you were with us, you're a great stand-up guy, you led us through tough times, like here's your 17th title, you don't got to hold it forever, right? You win it at WrestleMania in the main event one last time or something, then drop it out at SummerSlam, right? I mean, you get ousted.
Yeah, and I was thinking about you brought Money in the Bank. Damian screwed over Drew for the title. How
Like, well,
crazy
Drew,
would it be? Would be that Drew screws over Damian by cashing in.
right? If Damien's the champion at that point, right?
Yeah,
Or
at some point in the next year, you know.
right. That's you got. I mean, I'm looking like how can I've always I've been a fan since the second coming of Drew McIntyre. When he first came into the bit, like he didn't know his niche, and then he found it, and I've liked Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Um,
You could tell he had something back there in the three MB days, but you didn't. Like again, he was being forced, and the best thing for him, just like it was for Cody, to go do your own thing for a little bit, come back, find yourself, come back, and he's got his
you know,
groove, and you can tell what kind of his character.
right? It's there's a lot of possibilities. I wanted to go back to Gunther, and when he fought Sami Zayn at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title, and he dropped it to Sami Zayn, and I didn't agree. Like, I understand Sami deserved his shot. Like, I agree with that part, but realistically, I didn't believe that Sami Zayn would beat Gunther. It wasn't, I look at a match and like, okay, can this be believable? That's my number one. Can this person legit beat this person if they would legit fight? And I look at Gunther, and I look at Sami Zayn, and I'm like, 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, but you and me both are probably picking Gunther over Sami Zayn. I mean, no disrespect on Sami Zayn, he worked up his through the Indies and made his way up, but give Sami his respect, get him his title, 100%. But he shouldn't have dropped it. Gunther should have not have dropped it to Sami Zayn. He should have dropped it to someone like Braun Breaker first, and then maybe with some interference from like when Kevin Owens was on Sami Zayn's side, like beating Braun Breaker or some of that nature to make it a little more believable. Like, you needed help beating him because let's face it, Sami Zayn ain't beating Braun Breaker either. Make it believable.
Yeah, and I think what it came down to is they definitely wanted and needed to free up Gunther for the world heavyweight title.
Yes.
And they giving Triple H and all the creative team their respect. They probably had a spreadsheet of guys. Braun Breaker, is he ready yet? All right, he's not ready yet, but give him a few weeks, 2 months. This guy, we got other plans. Sami, he's earned it. Give it to Sami. Oh, Braun's ready now. Braun takes it from him. It was like, I think that they wanted Braun Breaker to have it eventually. They're like, okay, let's give Sami earned the right. He's been loyal. He's been hardworking. He's been dedicated. I don't think from that aspect anybody can second guess Sami Zayn.
No, and he did earn the shot. I just, who'd he beat to get the title is what I'm getting at. Like, because to me, it wasn't believable that you beat off the ring general, like, this true underdog, and can he do it and all that. And I look for realism. Like when you had Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 19, you had two of these high performing wrestlers. Now that match could have gone either way. Like, just knowing the history of both wrestlers. Yes, Brock had size and strength on him, but Kurt was an Olympic medalist for wrestling. Like, I mean, Kurt said, like he wrestled Brock, and like I think it was in an interview, and he beat him. It took him a while, but he did best Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, a lot of that is they're probably on talent wise, actual wrestling wise, on the same level. maybe Kurt's a little higher, but Brock has the youth and the strength, and Kurt had his bad neck, so it kind of evened it out. And you could tell that ultimately, you know, dare I say, the talent of Kurt Angle came through, and his refusal to quit, and maybe a little bit of the drugs keeping him out of pain. But in that aspect, you can tell that the experience and the talent pushed Kurt through, you know.
No, that was then you got a 295-pound guy doing a fucking moon, or not a moonsault, a shooting star press halfway across the ring.
Brock is a freak of nature. He is a freak of nature.
That is the truth. He is. He shouldn't be that big, that strong, that athletic, that quick.
But God balanced it out by making him ugly as sin.
Well, I mean, can't win everything.
It kind of balanced out. Let's finish off with,
I mean, don't forget who his wife is.
yeah, Sable now versus Sable 30 years ago.
Whatever, dude. He's saying he can make. He'll come up to you and be like, "Oh, look, I'm Sable." You can say, "Well, it's not Sable 30 years ago." Dude, he's fucking Sable. He's already won up to anyone that had the fantasy of looking at that Playboy with Sable in it.
Yeah, he's one out of life. He could sit at home on his farm and it'll be good.
Yeah.
Which, finishing up with the men's Royal Rumble. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, we get sidetracked easily.
All right. Like we said before, Jey Uso wins. Cena comes out, last two. Joe Hendry, TNA champ, comes out. You know, for the short time he was in, he looked good. You know, he got eliminated fairly quickly, but it's by Roman. So, okay, if it was anybody else, you could say, that's kind of cheap. But the two biggest things I was shocked or impressed by, Braun Breaker, great showing, speared the hell out of Roman Reigns, which was like, holy fucking shit. And then he gets eliminated a little bit after. And Finn, when he came out, virtually no reaction. I don't know if you saw it. Go back and look at him coming out. It was virtually dead silent for Finn Balor.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too, because I liked Finn.
Me too.
You know, you got to hold the Universal title for one day.
That's one more day than you and me.
Yeah, well, Kevin Owens made sure he didn't forget it.
And but yeah, it was that shocked me. Even boos are better than silence. But yeah, like the men's Rumble, they didn't shock me at all, really. I don't know about you, but
no, I guess from what I saw, it was one of your standard Royal Rumbles. I mean, like you said, they did a few spots with certain wrestlers, had a few surprise entrances, you know, just like we always do at every Royal Rumble. You got to have, you know, obviously the legends that we know are not going to be in the Royal Rumble. Hopefully not, because, you know, no one needs to see a 7-year-old hacksaw Jim Duggan going in there. Hello.
As much as I love seeing Jim Duggan, you know, no more, bud.
You know, no one needs to see him getting eliminated and go, hello.
Yeah.
But you know, it's starting to set up, I think, you know, hopefully going into Elimination Chamber, then into WrestleMania, and then see what sparks after WrestleMania, because then you got Backlash. What could happen? So it'd be interesting to see where they go. Like, I think definitely Jey Uso versus Gunther. Probably that'd be night one of WrestleMania.
Yeah, they're gonna be night one, and then how do you keep Cody for night two?
Night two, I'm thinking it'll be Cody Rhodes, and I want to see John Cena personally. Give John Cena his moment, let him end Cody Rhodes, and then maybe the next pay per view that John Cena wrestles, have him drop the title to somebody that up and coming. Have John Cena do it one more time with a guy, get a guy over, because we know Cody Rhodes is already over. We know that. That's fact.
Yeah, and losing to John Cena would not hurt Cody Rhodes
No,
at all.
I think no, it won't hurt him at all. I think it'll do. It's a respectable opponent to lose to. So, I just think that would be what I want to see is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, night 2 of WrestleMania, with Cody Rhodes dropping the title. Because I mean, I don't foresee any the bloodline getting involved, because they already got their stuff with Roman. You got the OG bloodline versus the new bloodline. So I would anticipate like a 4-man or 4-man tag at a minimum, bloodline versus bloodline match.
Honestly, I think the whole bloodline thing has wrapped up or is just about finished. If you saw the way Tama Tonga and Werewolf looked at the tag titles that were laying out, I think it was on Raw, that's going to be they're definitely showing that that's going to be the direction they're going with those two. So, and then we haven't seen Solo in a little bit.
Ever since he lost on that Raw.
Yeah, so I think that the Bloodline storyline has pretty much died down. You might get a little bit of it here and there, but I think it's pretty much wrapped up, And Werewolf, he's been feuding with Braun Strowman, and they got Roman's probably gonna take some more time away. Jay's going for the one of the world titles. So now they just got to find something for Jimmy to do, I mean, he's not hurting. Him and Naomi aren't hurting, so.
No, well, thank you for having me on talking about that.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And next will be Super Bowl.
Yep.
And then WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Free
Let's
info.
get to it. Maybe a couple weeks we'd have one about NASCAR.
Going left.
Going left. It'll be the shortest podcast yet. They're turning left still, Reggie? Yep. All right.
Yep,
See you next week.
All right.
All right. Have a good day, buddy.
You too, bud. Have a great day at work, and talk to you later.
Yep. See ya.
Yeet. And recording.